Good morning and War Eagle War Report family. Your man Ike Jones here, coming in on the morning drop. It's time to talk about dodging the train. Y'all know what we're about to get into. Did Auburn dodge a bullet with Lane Kiffin not being named as head coach? Let's do it morning drop style. Drop it on them.
You are now listening to the War Report. Drop.
It's Friday, December 30th. Your man Ike Jones is in here, morning drop style. We're talking about coaches, specifically one Lane Kiffin, head coach of Ole Miss. Ole Miss just lost their bowl game to Texas Tech in the fashion of 42-25. And now that their season is over, we've gotten through the early signing day period. It's time to discuss whether or not, listen, there was a lot of people who were on the Lane train, and I made a lot of fun of Ole Miss fans for, them feeling like they could retain Lane Kiffin over what Auburn could do for him. Ultimately, Lane Kiffin chose to stay with them. But I'm going to be honest with y'all. I was never on the Lane train. Never. I was accepting of the fact that he could be the head coach of Auburn, and it was fun to troll Ole Miss fans for the couple of weeks. Listen, you're broken, you're ugly. That's something I said, and I still mean it. But I was never the Lane Kiffin is. Let me start by saying this. I've already said a lot of things, but let me say this: Lane Kiffin is a brilliant offensive mind, and I think that he is a good head coach. My issues with bringing Lane Kiffin to Auburn had absolutely nothing to do with whether or not I felt like he could coach football. It was the price tag associated with getting Lane Kiffin as the coach and the things that I saw as potential issues that would make me have to get on here in a post-game show and be furious about, or have to go to a post-game press conference and have to ask him questions about repeatedly that were going to drive me up a wall. I already don't have no hair, y'all. I want to keep the little hair I got on my face here. So if pulling your hair out is going to be a thing, which Auburn sports definitely puts you through the ringers on all of those things, I didn't want it to be because we go into a bowl game and we go, let me check my stat sheet here, 2 of 7 on fourth down. 5 turnovers on downs. In the second quarter of this game against Texas Tech, from their own 20-something yard line, Ole Miss attempts a fake punt. The defense for Ole Miss, and this is another big issue that I had with Lane Kiffin coming in, is he just does not seem to be able to field a D. It doesn't matter who the D coordinator is. It doesn't matter where the school is. Defense is just not a thing that happens under Lane Kiffin. Just in rushing yards alone, 242 rush yards Texas Tech put up on them. They didn't have a bunch of guys that were sitting out from the game. I can't get over how often the fourth down decision making is infuriating from Lane Kiffin. And I can't get over the fact that they cannot seem to field a competent defense in his tenures as coach. Those things bother me because I like to see teams that can play good defense, and I don't like to see my head coach basically just give the ball to the other team when we could have had points or better field position. Those things infuriate me. They do. I'm sorry. But yeah, I was trying to convince myself, all right, well, we can at least be better for a short period of time, because everybody felt like Lane Kiffin was going to be this 2-year rental guy. He was just going to be at Auburn for a couple of years, and then he was going to move on to some other job. He wanted to go back to the NFL. Bunch of stuff that people were saying. I was like, all right, cool. Well, I can get down with Lane for a couple of years. Maybe the transfer portal, he turns the team around talent-wise. But then, oh, man. Recruiting. Like, they're 50-something in recruiting right now. And people were like, well, he took his eye off the ball. He had already quit on the job. And He was setting his sights on Auburn. Why would I want a coach that just quit on his previous job and just decided I don't want to recruit because I'm about to go get another job at the same position in the same division in the same conference, but I'm not going to keep working all the way through to that transition and then just flip those recruits over. I don't understand that. I don't understand that. And then Ole Miss doubles down in their attempt to flex, I guess, some prowess that they had in finances and give him an extension. Ole Miss just signed this man to a contract extension, and then he went out promptly and lost the rest of the games that season and lost the bowl game. Again, I so the question here is, did we dodge the bullet, man? Was the Lane train something that we should be, as Auburn fans, should be thankful that we did not get on board when we had the opportunity to, or when it was being rumored? It's definitely really early in Coach Hugh Freeze's tenure to, to do a celebration dance about everything, but early returns say we got the best of that situation right now, in my opinion. But hey, I'm just one humble guy on a YouTube channel talking about stuff that, maybe nobody cares about. Maybe everybody else is over it. It just was fresh on my mind because I just watched this bowl game and I just sat and was perplexed. My man B Will jumped here. What's up, man?
Mm-hmm.
Was sat and was perplexed by the fourth down decision making. But early returns say I don't know that that was going to work out too well for Auburn. So B, since you jumped in here, man, your thoughts on that?
I know we make a big deal about well, I make a big deal about certain calls being correct. I want to say I told y'all so about Jimbo. I want to say I knew it. Lane. There was no indication that he was a great head coach. The Saban Rehabilitation Clinic did a lot for his name, but there was what tangible results say he is great at what he does. I know FAU was a blip. He won the conference one year, but mostly he had a bunch of better talent than the rest of my peers cast off in transfers that came in. And if that's what you can do, sure. If you can outperform your competitors when you get better stuff than them, that doesn't make you a great head coach. That makes you a great transfer guy, which again, I guess Ole Miss is going to have to pound their chest about that. But that's not going to lead to anything down here because there are about 5 teams that are out recruiting Ole Miss in high school talent, and their high school talent is out recruiting Ole Miss's transfer talent. So you're not going to win anything just being kind of sort of as talented if you're just an okay coach. And so far, I don't know what anybody who was really excited, and this is not to down anybody who was really excited about Lane Kiffin. I know there was
this
some
ain't
people.
this to me. This is not a victory lap about people who were excited about Lane Kiffin. Like,
Right.
listen, there were things to be excited about with Lane. I'm just telling you, I was never excited.
Right. Never was. And the reason I wasn't was because there was nothing that he had done that said that. I know year 2, Ole Miss, then they won 10 games. I guess that's really big, but we also beat them fairly handily and easily. I was like, oh, you can't be great if this team is beating you easily because we had issues. So, yeah, I've never been too impressed with Lane Kiffin as a head coach. I'm still not. All that quirk and sassiness online is great when you can back it up. I am new school enough to like trash talking, to like demonstrative things. If you are succeeding, you can spike the ball if you score the touchdown. That's how I feel about it. But he's spiking the ball all the time. Win something. All this attitude about recruiting and then talking back at the guy who predicted he was coming to Auburn, right? Which, fair enough. He jumped out there and said some stuff you hadn't confirmed. It wasn't confirmed yet. Now he looks like an ass because he called it too early. Okay, dunk on the dude, but you dunking on everybody, and you just haven't won enough. Is there anybody else whose best career achievement would have been 10 wins at Ole Miss who we would be allowing this from? Who would be like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's okay if you tweeting stuff about, man, yeah, they bought their players, or you're complaining about what you don't have. Lane Kiffin gets away with a lot to not be a big winner. That's all I'm saying. And I didn't want that here. I didn't think that would fly here. We made a lot about culture when Brian Harsin got shown the door. And that's something that I personally didn't really think should have been a big deal, but I came around to it. I was like, you know what? Obviously, culture matters. And then people pivoted immediately to Lane Kiffin. I was like, word? Does he seem like he fits the culture here? Nah. So thank you,
Yeah,
Ole Miss. Whatever it is that convinced Lane to stay, I'm glad the powers that be didn't up the bounty to get him here. I didn't think it
that
was
would have
worth
been
9 million.
man. That would have been so man. We would have had to pay like 10 or 11, bro, to get him away from Ole Miss. That would have been crazy for us to be
Yeah.
paying that kind of money. So Florida fans, or excuse me, Georgia fans actually coined this phrase with a guy who was rumored to be coming over here as defensive coordinator, and it was a phrase third and Grantham, right? I don't know if you guys have ever heard of third and Grantham, but it basically is the idea that inevitably Todd Grantham is going to dial up some sort of elaborate blitz on third down and give up big plays,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think it's time for Ole Miss fans to embrace fourth and Kiffin. I think fourth and
Yeah.
Kiffin needs to be a thing, and it just needs to be out there. I'm gonna clip this portion of this and put it out on social media so Ole Miss fans can embrace the idea. Fourth and Kiffin should be a thing for you guys because clearly fourth down is not the down for Lane Kiffin.
It's not. It is not. And
I
that's
don't know
fine.
what's on that little analytic sheet that man has over there, but burn that immediately.
Yeah. And I God bless Ole Miss. Again, they pounded their chest to keep this guy right
Yeah.
after they tried to mentally throw him away when they thought it was a done deal as well for him to come to Auburn. But let's look, you got a guy that at least keeps you relevant. Whether Lane Kiffin deserves the hype that he gets as a offensive mind and a head coach, it doesn't really matter because he's got enough pull to get you some relevance at Ole Miss, and that's what they need because otherwise they'd be completely irrelevant. So it's a win for Ole Miss. I don't know if you can afford to be paying $9 million for somebody who's just keeping giving you mind share and not actual tangible results, but that's great for you. We needed results here. I think we got the better coach.
Yeah. Time will definitely tell. Early returns, though, again, say, yeah. You guys are listening to The Morning Drop, sponsored by RogueShop.com. Make sure you head over to RogueShop.com. Again, Rogue Shop is America's #1 online dispensary. You need to make sure that you are locking in with the best whenever you're doing things. If you're watching the best content for Auburn stuff, why not get your dispensary needs taken care of by the best folks online? That's RogueShop.com. And use code REPORT to get 10% off of your purchase. Who doesn't like a few dollars off of their purchase? If you're watching right now and you can't comment, it's because you're not a member. We try to restrict these to family conversation. If you want to troll, that's fine, but you got to pay to troll on the morning drop. Listen, go troll in the comments afterwards or whatever you got to do. Ole Miss fans, if I just upset you, good. I don't take back nothing I just said. I don't take back the broken ugly. I don't take back fourth and Kiffin. I don't take back none of that stuff because I meant it when I said it. And you're just going to have to be okay with it. But we are going to go to the comments from those lovely folks with the green names and see what you all are saying this morning right here on the morning drop. We appreciate you guys jumping in here. Brian Hancher, we're going to get it started off by saying, I'm glad we won't have Lane on fourth and anything. Fourth and Kiffin is a thing.
Yeah.
We've made it official as of this morning. Hashtag fourth and Kiffin. P-Pass jumps in and says, I was on the wait and see approach, went to Egg Bowl to watch his offense get throttled and still go it on 4th and 2 and 6. Fourth on 2 and 6. Yeah, listen, man. Fourth down, fourth and Kiffin. I'm trying to tell you, it's a thing. Corey Weber, our guy, jumps in. We would have been excited in the beginning, Hallie, but then signing day would have happened. Let's see here.
Yeah, so okay. So well, Corey, I know you watch us enough to know. Again, I am of the belief that the school and the school's alum boosters resources do more recruiting than the head coach. The head coach is a good chunk of it, but there's a reason why we can stay competitive in recruiting with Hugh Freeze and also with Gus Malzahn, even when he wasn't really showing much on the field. And that's because the powers that be and the energy behind the scenes are roughly the same, which is why Ole Miss has a hard ceiling on it. Kiffin here probably could have done a lot better. I mean, he knew we needed a new offensive line. Hugh Freeze knew. Everybody knew. So, yes, anybody who knew recruiting was important and prioritizes it the way I know Lane Kiffin does and Hugh Freeze does, they would have tried to make the same quick fixes. I think we would have had a really good chance to turn things around just as quickly at offensive line. Now, some of the defensive positions, I'm not sure, but if Zach Etheridge stays on, which I assume he would have, then yeah, I think we would have had very similar results with Lane Kiffin here because we're Auburn. Them being Ole Miss is why their their signing day was not so good.
Yeah. I don't know what to say about Ole Miss's signing day. It was. I mean, they had 12 guys that were quality. It's just I think the number of recruits that they landed was what was disappointing for Ole Miss fans,
Right.
and then where they landed in the rankings. Which again, I'm not a guy that gets caught up in rankings, but if you want to sell to me rankings, you can't sell to me rankings and sell to me Lane Kiffin at the same time.
Yeah.
Our guy, or excuse me, my girl Haley jumps in and says, "You know what? I always say Haley. It could be Hallie. I just thought about that.
Yeah, you know what? Correct us on that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Please.
It's a
Hey, Hallie, if
yeah.
it's
Anyway, all right.
tell us what it is.
We would have lost our minds if Lane was our coach. I definitely would have been very frustrated with it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I got frustrated the couple of times that Coach Harsin went for it on fourth down in our own territory, and I was just like, "What? Why? Right then?"
Right.
I go back to the South Carolina game, 2021, when we went for it on fourth down and didn't get it. And I was just at the end of the half, and then South Carolina ends up scoring and getting momentum and eventually winning that game. I was just like, that your defense was playing good. Why are you doing it? Man, maybe that's why Lane Kiffin does it, because he doesn't have a defense. He's like, hey, man, I got to take all points I can get, bro, because this defense ain't about to stop nobody.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it. But I mean, but then you have the opportunity to kick field goals on the other end and you don't take the points there. Like, I don't, it don't make no sense to me, bro. It don't make any sense.
Yeah.
I can't get with it. John Brannon, football wisdom over analytics in many cases. Listen, football wisdom says kick the punt, kick the field goal. And Lane Kiffin is like, screw that.
And it has not worked in his favor, like not one time since he's been.
That's the thing that's crazy. It's not as if it works. They were 2 of 7 in this game on fourth down. 2 of 7.
Yeah.
So it's, if it worked a lot, and you know, like, I get it, you know, every now and then a crazy play, it's gonna work out and he's gonna look like a genius. But it's like, it's almost as if he's chasing genius.
Right.
And you can't, you either just are a genius or you're perpetrating genius. And I think for right, it's starting to look like he's perpetrating the genius a little bit.
He might just be a good OC. A good OC with a little charisma might be.
Some people need
Kiffin.
to learn how to embrace the coordinator life. Hopefully Will Muschamp pass. And Lane Kiffin might need to just embrace the coordinator life.
Although you pay me $9 million to fake being a good head coach, I would do that as well. So shout out to him for that.
All right. Joshua Jordan, I was never on the Lane train. I was just defeated that he was going to be the head coach. Hugh has done good so far, but still want Coach Prime. And looking at Colorado recruiting, sheesh. Listen, Colorado recruiting might be really good. I don't know if Colorado's team is going to be very good. Like, I don't know. Colorado gonna have to show me something under Coach Prime before I'm like, oh yeah, that would have been. And still, I'm not certain Coach Prime would have been a good fit at Auburn. I'm just not sure.
Yeah.
That all things considered, it would have been a good marriage between how he wanted to be treated and how people were going to treat him.
Right.
I don't know that the personalities mesh. I think Hugh Freeze is a good fit for Auburn, a good fit for this situation. We'll see. Again, early returns say it's looking good for Coach Hugh Freeze, and we'll see if the trajectory continues in the proper direction. But let's be clear, there's still a lot of ground to make up in the SEC before we can start beating our chest about being back.
Right.
John jumps back in. I think our bad offense the past several years made many of the views on Lane as gold, but it was fool's gold. I will have to agree that looking at the offensive prowess of Lane Kiffin and looking at the offensive ineptitude of Auburn makes one look over there and be like, well, maybe. But listen, the 80-20 rule is a real thing, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
And I'm not even saying we had 80 before. I'm just saying like
Right.
a lot of stuff looks really good when it's opposite. I think you talk about this often, Bia. Like sometimes you
Yeah.
overcompensate because
Overcompensate.
of, hey, I haven't had this thing, so like I'm just gonna go real far over and on this side, and it's like it ain't necessarily, you don't need to overcompensate, just change.
Yeah, on the black market in some seedy back alley where guys who says good offense on the top of the store, like, man, we need some of that offense stuff, even though he's missing like 3 teeth and it smells in the shop, but he's got good offense. You buying from there? Nah, that's okay. I'll go to a more reputable place, somewhere that has everything I need, not just the one thing I'm missing right now.
P Pass jumps in and said we should make t-shirts for next year's game. What should those t-shirts? I saw Haley, and she did correct and say like Tracy, so Haley
Okay.
um said that dodge the lane train or something like that. Maybe a fourth and Kiffin shirt. Like there's some good trolling that could potentially happen. It's going to be interesting when Ole Miss comes to town next year, because that game has taken on a new level of interest. Like
Right.
how when Tuberville came over, the Ole Miss game all of a sudden had a lot of juice. This game will have a lot of juice this year, because not only did we have the whole Lane Kiffin situation, but also Hugh Freeze being a former Ole Miss coach. It's a lot of juice in that game right now.
That's gonna be great. Just to
Yeah,
know that we would have gotten if we win that game, then we have gotten the better Ole Miss head coach, I guess you could say. And again, their fan base was number one furious that Lane might leave, and then mocking us that he didn't leave, and now sad and dejected that he looks like that he looks like spoiled goods. I think it would be fantastic to just put a cherry on top would be, and our old Ole Miss head coach beat your current Ole Miss head coach, and you're
yeah,
paying way more money for him, and you can't even afford to pay him that.
yeah.
Oh, it's great. It's great. I really like that.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting situation, man. It's almost a game that we have to win next year, though.
Yeah.
Like at this point, the amount of bickering and banter that's gone back and forth between these two fan bases, you almost have to win that game this year if you're Auburn, or it's gonna be a lot of egg on your face. I don't like egg that much, Coach Freeze. Listen, man, we need this one for pride and for trolling. We need it. All right. Anyway, Matt Reeves jumping in here. The schedule Ole Miss has next year is not fun. They have road games at Tulane, at Georgia, at Bama, at Auburn, and at Mississippi State. As an SEC West is going to be, and we need to have a conversation about that. We'll talk about that another time, because your boy down here at TCU jumping out the window, Sonny Dykes, talking about how SEC schools scheduling cupcakes
Oh,
late in the season. Uh, for whatever reason, Big 12 fans, this has been a thing that the Big 12 fans have been talking about all season. Because I remember Big Game Boomer saying something about this earlier too, about scheduling cupcakes later in the season, as if we don't have to play an SEC schedule and they over here playing a Big 12 schedule. Like it's different.
right.
Like, so let's calm down a little bit. Anyway, yes, they do have a tough game, schedule, and it's going to be tough every year just because SEC West, it is what it is, right? Imani Smoot, good to see you, Imani. Honestly, wanted Lane, Dion, or Freeze, but watching Lane go forward on all these fourth downs, I don't need it in my life. My stress level needs to be down. Agreed, 100%. I ain't trying to see fourth and Kiffin for however many years that contract was supposed to be.
Yeah, for real.
And let's be clear, Auburn is in a position where we need to stop firing coaches. So they needed to get this one right. And hopefully this one is correct for Coach Hugh Freeze, because we got too many ex-coaches on our payroll still.
Right.
If we want to really elevate as a program, it starts with not firing head coaches every 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, we needed to get a hire right. And I think there's more potential here for at least early success. I've always thought still that 2 years you can kind of see where things are going. You give a coach 3 by default, just no matter what, because it may not be a short-term plan. But unlike Brian Harsin, I think Hugh Freeze knew I don't have time to mess around. They've already been through that. They've been losing, so I need to turn it around quick. And we always refer back to the fact that he advertised as much. I've turned programs around quickly. I've turned quarterbacks around quickly. So, hey, you kind of put that on himself. That's not going to change my opinion of what he looks like year 1, 2, 3. I still think you go through 3, but yeah, we're in a better position with him than we are with Lane, because I think the price that you paid for Lane would have ratcheted expectations up quickly, regardless of whether you think 1 year is fair, 2 years are fair, or 3 years. You pay $9 million for a guy or more than that, then it's fair to expect some really good returns, which is why I think it's fair that Ole Miss fans are upset.
Yeah.
This is year 3, and now you're paying them $9 million.
I talked about this on the Amen Corner podcast that's dropping coming up soon, but like I'm wondering how long before the seat gets hot in Oxford for Lane Kiffin, because you're paying a lot. Like Lane Kiffin's being paid a lot of money to deliver you okay results.
Yeah. Win the division. That's a tough task. Win the division. $9 million doesn't get you a division title, then he's not the guy. Win the division. It's the easy phrase. Double-digit wins at Ole Miss. That's quite a feat. Like that's step 1. Win 10 games. He's done that. Win the division. $9 million, man. Win the division. You're the 3rd highest paid coach over here. I think the 4th highest paid coach in the conference. Kirby, Nick, Jimbo now, and also at LSU, Brian Kelly. That's it. He's the 5th highest paid coach in the conference, and the 3rd highest paid coach in the division. The 4th, excuse me. Win the division, please. Prove us wrong. Win that,
or prove us right, so we can keep talking about you. You know, either way. Haley jumps back in. Yes, we cannot lose that game. I'm going to be insufferable afterwards. I am going to have my fun with Ole Miss fans. I definitely will. I've already had a lot of fun with Ole Miss fans, and so why not let the party continue? So, looking forward to that. All right, man, we're gonna get out of here. Appreciate you guys dropping in with us. Once again, this has been the Morning Drop, sponsored by RogueShop.com. Use code RAPPORT when you go over there and shop with them. Go on over there right now and do that. You guys need to become members of the War Report as well. We got great content that we're dropping for you. And with the morning drops, you have to be a member in order to comment on those. So we appreciate that. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you're subscribing to the channel. Make sure you're telling somebody about the great things going on at the War Report. We appreciate you guys for dropping in with us. As always, War Eagle, and we are out of here.
Peace.